Hello, everyone. Welcome to Game Junk Prototype episode 28, recording on Friday, September 11th. My name is Frank,
My name is Sean.
And my name's Andrew.
and we're going to be talking about a pretty big Microsoft announcement this week, even though it was one of the worst kept secrets in gaming, and also talking about the Ubisoft Forward event that went down yesterday, among some other stuff we played as well. How you guys doing?
Good.
Pretty- Got the proper Ubisoft pronunciation down there, Frank?
Yep. Sick of
Okay.
getting chirped. We're up to Ubi.
I'm sure I will switch back to Ubi partway through the podcast.
Me too. Okay, so let's get into it. Xbox Series S was officially announced this week. A smaller, less powerful version of their next generation console. I'm genuinely not sure what its actual specs are in comparison to the Series X. I haven't done that much research, nor am I sure how much better it is than a current Xbox One X, to be perfectly honest.
Well, guess what? You're in luck because I've got all the specs right in front of me for all
Well,
three.
I was counting on you for that, Huck, and I'm glad you do, because there's no chance I'll buy this piece of shit, even though I will admit it is a beautiful, tiny little console. Maybe for the shitter, I might pick one up if I ever throw a TV. Uh, what do you guys say? I guess pricing's interesting as well. $299 in the US for the Series S and $499 for the Series X. Putting the Series X at $599 Canadian, where we live. And what are you guys thinking? Good move, bad move, confusing naming system? What are we looking at here?
Well, I like the look of it. That weird speaker grill thing, which people seem to be making fun of. I actually kind of like the look of it. I don't really understand. Like, is it just a fan vent? Is that what that is?
You tell me, you're the
so.
big fan of it.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's just an event.
Okay. Yeah, I was saying to Frank yesterday, I mean, it got me thinking that I'm ready to take the plunge and go fully digital for next gen. Doesn't necessarily mean I'm buying a digital only console, but I don't know. I'm like I think I've decided, a PS5 will be my first thing to purchase, and I don't know that I'll be buying the next gen Xbox right away. So I'll maybe wait it out and decide on that later. But yeah, I guess.
Well, I'll add, there is currently no reason that I'm aware of to buy an Series X or Series S on launch day.
Well,
Yeah,
there could be if you don't. So if the price of the PS5's higher and you don't have an Xbox and you want to get Game Pass, it could be interesting. You could be interested in it.
Yes, if you don't have any Xbox console and you want to get in, yes, definitely. And I guess a small percentage who have to play the games coming out in November at the absolute best quality possible, although that still hasn't been revealed. There's been no comparison of like screenshots from a Series X game and a X or Xbox One, like how big of a difference there is for that stuff.
Yeah, that was confusing what you just said there. I think you were trying to compare Series X, Series S, and Xbox One X, right? That's what you're saying?
No, I was just comparing Series X and I guess Series S by proxy to the Xbox One and Xbox One X, which I mean just leads to the whole other idea of the branding and where the shit's going. To me, this Series S looks like it's a way to stop manufacturing the old versions of the consoles and just have a new one out. So Huck will tantalize us with specs, but to me, I'm guessing it's not that much better than a series or an Xbox One X. Pardon me, this is so stupid.
Yeah.
Fuck you, Mike.
Yeah,
This is
the naming.
how this cannot be a gaffe. How they've learned nothing from the Wii U is mind-boggling for me.
Yeah, it's weird. Definitely the naming is weird. So the weird thing is that on the surface it looks like the Series S
Is
is
this
actually
is this on a Microsoft Surface tablet or on the surface of what you're looking at?
I don't know what you're talking about there, but
Okay, all right. Well, you can stream games and play them with Xbox Game Pass for
oh, I
PC
see.
on Microsoft Surface.
Yeah. So what I meant is the Series S is actually not as good as an Xbox One X. But when you look at the stats, it's really just running at a slightly lower resolution. So it looks like they upgraded everything except for the graphics card. So
Okay.
I'll go into the stats right here to get
Well, one thing, I think
techie.
I read somewhere that it'll actually load stuff faster on the Series S.
Yes. So that is the difference. So everything's upgraded except for the graphics processor, which brings down the resolution. So if you're looking for 4K gaming, then the Series S can't do it. It can only do
Oh, I didn't know that you
1440p.
couldn't- Huh. Well,
So
that's pretty lame.
yeah,
But I mean,
I mean,
a lot
but
of people still don't have 4K TVs, right? So
yeah, the interesting thing though, with the price of $299, that's actually cheaper than the Xbox One X is right now. The Xbox One X, I looked at American Best Buy, is $399 with a pack-in game. So this is actually next gen. You get access to all the next gen titles that are going to come out, although that's kind of wishy-washy on Xbox anyways, because everything's supposed to be fluid. But you don't get obviously the pack-in game, and also they announced that you can do that monthly subscription. I think it was like $25 a month. I don't know if they really said like to pay it off or that's like an indefinite subscription. I wasn't clear on that aspect of it. So I don't know about that. But to get back to the tech. So the CPUs are all 8 cores. So the Series X, I'll go high to low and I'll stop saying the names just to be clear. So top end, 3.8 gigahertz, 3.6 for the Series S, and then 2.3 for the X, the One X. So there is quite a gain in the CPU speed. And then obviously the then for RAM, so Xbox Series X, 16 gigabytes of GDDR6, which is the next gen graphics card. S only has 10 gigs of GDDR6, and then the One X has 12 of the old GDDR5. So it actually has more RAM, but it's a little slower speed, which probably also is a factor in the resolution. And then the graphics cards, it's the same sort of like speed increase that I just said about the CPUs, but for some reason the Series X, Series sorry, oh god, Series S, this is just disastrous. The Series S, the middle tier now, I guess the lowest next gen, only has 20 compute units on the GPU, and the One X had 40, and the Series X has 52. So for some reason they eliminated about half, or I guess one third or whatever that is, of the compute units on the actual GPU, so it can't do as much. And so that's like, to talk in teraflops, it's like only it's 12 for the high end, 4 for the Series S, and then it's actually 6 for the One X. So the last gen actually can push more GPU processing through the pipe than the quote unquote next gen Series S, which is a little strange that they would do that. Obviously, this is how they're hoping to undercut Sony, is by having this low end tier, being able to quote it as, next gen. Now it does still have the fast SSD, so that's obviously good at where the load times will come in and everything. And obviously the CPU's faster, which will help. But yeah, they just can't throw as much at it through to get the resolution up. And so that's, I think, where they're trying to have this like almost like budget option. Now I'm kind of with Frank. I don't know how appealing it will be. I mean, if it's $200 difference, I would think that you're probably better to just wait an extra couple months and save up that $200 and go, especially since there's no drive really to get it. There's no new games to play other than Game Pass. Just wait a couple months, save up that extra $200, and then you can have a console that's really cutting edge. And when the games start coming out, you don't have to worry about it. It seems like an interesting decision on Microsoft.
Well, and also, Q, I'm looking at IGN right now, these bullshit marketing articles. Series S plus Game Pass is Microsoft's secret weapon. Well, it can't be that secret because that's the title of your article. And two, it's like, is it really? We don't even know what Sony's doing yet. And I mean, if Sony really wanted to take a hit and decided to launch the PS5 at $399 American, it's over.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they're probably going to announce next week, but it does seem like Microsoft may have, I don't know, they've confused the market in some way by doing this, and maybe confused Sony in some way by doing this too, just because it's like, well, what do you like, what's more important? And like, yes, so now Microsoft has that one talking point of being able to say we have the cheapest next gen console out there and the easiest way for people to jump into next gen gaming. But does that mean anything when the last gen console is technically more powerful? Like, it's just, I can't see people going into a store, especially if the One X and some of these and the One S are even still on store shelves for a while. Like, people aren't going to know what the heck they're buying. Like, I think it's a dumb move. I think it's really
bad. And to me, I mean, I know a lot of friends and that have kids and they buy Xbox just because I think it is becoming more common knowledge to casual markets that Game Pass is a thing and is a great value. And we might as well add now the news that EA said EA Access will come with Game Pass, which I think is a big deal. That's a pretty good thing, even though EA Access for the year was only $30, really. It's not like a huge difference, but I think it actually has a much higher perceived value than the $30 you're saving, which is a good thing for Microsoft. But there's so much confusion. If I was at Sony right now, I would be crunching the numbers so hard. What's the lowest price we can possibly go? I know there's been a lot of articles and stuff throughout the release of past consoles where we're selling this console at a loss. We lose money to sell it to get people to buy games and do other stuff. So if Sony's calculating what that number is, I mean, Microsoft could be in real trouble here.
So I think Sony has said that they're not doing that anymore. They're done with losing money on the hardware. I think they said that at the PS4.
If I was an executive there, I'd be considering it again in this particular scenario because, in my opinion, they are like prime for the kill right now. If they want, like, it's really bad. I don't see a lot of people saying that, but and I know I'm a PlayStation fanboy. Whatever, I don't care. I'm gonna buy them both, but my perception is Microsoft is confusing consumers a lot right now. And if every game you're going to have is going to run on old versions, at least for the first 2 years, and this lower version of a next gen console, what are you even bringing to the table in terms of next gen? It's completely a mess to me, and I do not get it. I don't care if I'm proven wrong, but at this point, I don't know how anyone could be saying this is an amazing idea and this is perfect for consumers.
So,
I mean, it is comparable. I'm assuming they're also the idea that like everyone was complaining when iPhone was going to release like the SE2 and these kind of low end versions of stuff, and they go on to be Apple's best selling products, right? And there's a lot of debate as to whether or not commercially Apple is better off without Steve Jobs because they've taken at least a somewhat more consumer centric approach with more SKUs of products and stuff like that. But that might be true, but I don't know. When it comes to gamers, I just don't see the same market approach applying. But I could be wrong.
So I just think there's two things. One, to touch on what Sean was saying before about how they kind of like had a kind of like mediocre drop. But the one thing we didn't touch on is that the reason it dropped like this was actually leaked by somebody at like, I don't know, 11, like it was late at night. And then Microsoft just said basically like, fuck it, and put out a tweet saying like, let's confirm it. Like the next morning or maybe even later that night. Like I don't think that the leak forced the price. I think they probably already had that price set, but I'm pretty sure they didn't want to announce it this way, like with zero hype and just like a random drop in the middle of the night. So that could also, hurt them in the long run.
Yeah, but I mean, again, like we were saying last week or the week before, like it was coming up to the point where somebody had to announce something, and it seemed like they were kind of playing a game of chicken, like who's going to announce first. I feel like because Microsoft had the two SKUs, that gave them the balls to kind of be able to announce first, just because what's Sony going to do with that? I don't know. Like it's not like whoever goes last can automatically just react and go lower. Now you got to think, well, what does that mean? And does that affect our plan? And so, in a way that's smart, I guess, but I guess I'm a little
Sony is, I guarantee you, doing surveys right now with, and it's like, given these prices, which one would you buy? Given that they are finding that price point. That is exactly why they're waiting, because the thing I was talking about Apple, and the only reason why Microsoft has two consoles would be because price is such a big factor. And if it wasn't, there's no need to even do this announcement.
Yeah, well, I'm curious what the sales of the Xbox One S are like, because the One S feels like it's the one that kind of gets pushed for deals and bundles and stuff like that. And I think Microsoft is seeing, you got to take care of the hardcore gamers. You give them the One X, and you kind of are able to say, hey, we've got this really powerful system, and that takes care of that market. But then they have the One S that they can kind of push on people who aren't really paying as much attention and just want whatever the new console is, and you're giving them a deal. And so, like, if the sales of the One S are like a lot higher than the One X, then maybe that's why they're doing this, and maybe it makes some sense. It's just strange to do it right at the beginning of the next generation, because right off the bat, people are faced with this choice, which is a little weird.
I've got a prediction here, and the only way this strategy makes any sense to me at all is with one caveat. And I don't know I haven't read this anywhere. This is completely my own speculation here. I predict a new Switch will be announced with about the same specs as the Xbox One Series S that will run Xbox Game Pass. And they've been getting pretty cozy with Nintendo for a while. And I think when I used to listen to some Xbox branded podcasts, they would go out of their way to praise Nintendo games like Breath of the Wild and talk about how great they are. Would never bring up a PlayStation game if it was the greatest game ever made. Would never mention it. But Nintendo, oh, so good. Love my Switch. It's the greatest. So I think this has been brewing for a long time, and I think the processing power of the Switch has always been a problem for that. So I would not be surprised if this whole things can run on any device, and they have a whole environment set up to scale games down quality level, is so they can run on a new version of the Switch. Just pure speculation. That's the only way this makes sense to me, because the Switch is a big deal. Whether I think it's great or not, it sells a ton of copies, and that would be, to me, the final move for Microsoft. And I have to admit, it would be a big deal.
There are rumors that there's going to be a Switch Pro announced in the
Oh yeah.
So maybe. I mean, it could happen with just like xCloud, right? Like they could even just do that as a way to get on that system.
Yeah, they could. I mean, that's been speculated before, but if they could, if that technology's still not there, this could be the last thing. If I'm right with this, that's huge. This would be amazing because I haven't seen this anywhere.
You're hearing this first right here on Game Drop.
Absolutely. Now, I have to add one more thing as a PlayStation and Apple fanboy. The Apple strategy of having an SE works because Apple's operating system is the best. It's the best user experience for phones, hands down. I know people like the customization of Android, blah, blah, blah. But in my experience, anyone who's gone from Android to Apple says it's night and day. It's so much better on an Apple system. Now, there's some hardcore people, I get it, who prefer Android, don't care. But the reason why Apple can have a shittier version of their products and sell so many is because the demand for the ecosystem is there. That to apply that analogy to games, you have to have games that everyone wants only on your console to drive low-end versions of them. What games are people going to be rushing to get this console for? Unless they've done research to say, well, people aren't willing to spend $600 or $500 to play Halo Infinite, but they would spend $300. And if we launch Halo Infinite multiplayer for free, then they factor in the price of the game, and maybe they would just buy it to play that game. Like that's the price point for, I'll buy this to play the subpar Microsoft games for now. That's how much I'd be willing to spend.
I have one more potential reason why they have this version. So I just bought a 4K TV, and I wonder if they did some market research and found out that a large percentage of people still don't have a 4K TV. And so I don't know if you guys from doing Film Junk have any perspective on the amount of like 4K, like UHD sales or like streaming 4K numbers. But I wonder if they ran some numbers and found out that a lot of people don't have 4K TVs. They're not planning on upgrading anytime soon. They're happy just buying their $200 to $300 1080p TV. And this then is a great option for people who don't ever want to do 4K gaming in the next, 5-6 years. So they could go and spend $300, which is less than a 1X, and have all the games, and they'd run on a resolution that the TV can handle. I mean, you're just throwing away the resolution gains if you go for a Series X if you don't have a 4K TV. So although obviously the games will run faster, but if you don't have a 4K TV, you're really not getting everything next gen has to offer.
Well, I get that. That actually makes a lot of sense. And I honestly think the 4K bump on games is a little bit overrated. I know when games got automatically converted to 4K and upscaled on Xbox One X, I legit did not see that much of a difference. And it didn't. And clearly, with the Switch doing so well, that's not that much of a factor. But I think it'll affect them more when you compare just general visuals, 4K or 1080p or whatever, on a PlayStation 5, once the games are really starting to take advantage of that hardware, and compare it to the Series S, it's going to be night and day.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably a factor. I do feel like 4K TVs are kind of just coming down now to the point where it's like if it's time to buy a new TV, you're probably getting 4K whether you like it or not. Like they're kind of the standard thing now if you go into Best Buy. But they did say in their press release, and this is probably just marketing BS, but they said, hey, we talked to a lot of gamers. They want performance, they want frame rate, they don't care as much about the 4K resolution. And maybe that's true.
I agree. It's bottom of the list for all the things that you would need.
Yeah.
And obviously their strategy is, if that does matter to you, you would buy the Series X anyway.
Yeah. And just to go back to your point about the iPhone things too. It's a little different with phones because how many people actually do stuff on their phone that pushes the limits of the hardware, right? Like
True.
most people are just texting, checking email, but gaming is all about pushing the limits of the hardware. So it's a little riskier, I think.
Yep, for sure. Okay, I don't have much to add about that. Did you guys have anything else or anything about the EA access with Game Pass to add?
No.
Nope.
I will admit I do concede for someone that doesn't care that much about video games and has kids, Xbox, a version of Xbox and Game Pass is an amazing option. So I want to add that. Like, it could be a very good market strategy in some respects. They will probably make a lot of money with it, but from a gamer's perspective, the war is over. So let's move on to the Ubi Forward. Pardon me, I already fucked up. Ubi Forward, which happened yesterday, and I just watched today. And yet again, was not blown away by anything. Let's talk probably about the thing that we're all the most interested in. I'm speculating here, obviously, but Immortals Phoenix Rise, is that what it's called? I don't even know what it's called.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
back
that's
to
man.
Immortals Phoenix Rising, the most generic, awful name. I hate it. Gods and Monsters was such a better name. Anyway, it's weird. That's the main game, I think. It was the lead-off game, and it comes out in December, which is kind of cool. I'm really torn on this game because in principle, I think it looks pretty good. To me, it's got a clear old school God of War meets Breath of the Wild
Yeah,
combination. Totally. It's undeniable to the point where it's so undeniable, it makes me kind of barf in my mouth when I see the effects and other stuff. Like it's such a blatant ripoff. It does leave a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth. I got to be honest. Like I will still, and I mean, this is an interesting game because to me, the confusion with the title, everything around it, they are banking on this game getting Breath of the Wild for sure, but getting good reviews. If this game gets bad reviews, like I don't know the scale of it, how many hours it is and stuff like that. It has potential. If this game gets 9s out of 10s from reviewers, I think it'll sell really well. If it gets 5 and 6s, it's tank central. So I am intrigued. It is a game that I think I will wait for reviews on, though, for sure. Like it's not a must buy for me right away. I would still probably lean towards going back and playing Breath of the Wild, but I am intrigued by kind of old school God of War. And I mean, even one of the things, the wings that the power up they showed, and they said is it Daedalus wings?
Yeah.
Weren't they called Icarus wings in God of War 2? Aren't they literally the exact same thing?
Yes. And also, I don't know if you noticed how they opened the treasure chest, but it's almost identical to like the God of War animation for like throwing open the treasure chest.
I mean, I don't want to get into it, Sean, but I forgive me for already forgetting the name of the company you used to work for.
Who, me?
Yeah, did you work there too, Huck?
No.
Okay, I didn't think so. I was having a brain fart for a second, but like I was getting heavy Gameloft vibes of like copying other successful games.
And Ubisoft and Gameloft are joined at the hip. So
I know I'm aware of that, but it's kind of gross. Got to be honest.
And I actually hate the name. Like they don't even spell Phoenix right. Like where does this spelling of Phoenix? Like obviously it's the lead character's name, but why pick that? Why pick something that's obviously spelt not like Phoenix from lore, but like some other cryptic spelling of it, unless I'm missing something.
I think my guess is in the story, there's debate as to whether or not that idea of the Phoenix Rising wasn't actually the creature of Phoenix, but a person, and then you pick and customize that person. And because it's framing it with who was it? Zeus and Thor having a debate is the story mechanic, I think. So I
Yeah.
think they're kind of debating what happens with this character named Phoenix. Not that I really care.
Yeah.
But one thing I want to add with the name, unless I'm missing something, I just want to double check right now. Like, is the game the lack of a colon? Let's just put it out there. It is Immortals Phoenix Rising.
Well,
Oh,
they
really?
have-
There's no colon?
Yeah, no
There's
colon.
no
It's-
colon.
It's interesting that there's that movie Immortals as well.
Yeah.
Which I don't know
Which
if
you
there's
definitely want to hop on the branding for that. Definitely.
Yeah, not that anyone remembers that movie, but I like this is the first time they've announced that title, right? Am I wrong? Like I was confused, and I was saying to Frank, I was like, oh, they didn't like. I didn't even realize it was the same game as Gods and Monsters.
I think the name change came out, but there was no new videos to go along with it.
Oh, okay.
Like a week or so ago, or maybe 2 weeks ago.
I don't know if they've said why they changed it, but it is terrible. I mean,
I don't think so.
I kind of like the potential of the game. It didn't blow me away with the look of the game. I get that it's kind of going for a little bit of a cartoony, stylized vibe, which they certainly said stylized several times during that presentation, but it could be great. And I mean, certainly they're stealing a bunch of stuff from Breath of the Wild, which I love Breath of the Wild, so I'll give it a shot. But it's a little weird that we're just seeing this now. It's coming out in December. I don't know, something about that feels a little like they were doing a lot of retooling and just it's coming in hot. Basically, is what I'm feeling. So
yeah. So there is a movie called Gods and Monsters.
Yeah, that's an old like 2000 or 2001 movie.
Yeah.
I
don't know.
McKellen, Brent Fraser.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if maybe they couldn't get some like website names they wanted or something, so they changed it. But the one thing I think I'm worried about for this game is I'm worried that they're going to make the game have way too much combat, because it looks like a huge open world, but it also looks like there's a lot of enemies. And Breath of the Wild, even though it was a huge environment, the enemies were pretty sparsely spaced, so you weren't constantly bogged down with battles all the time. And I'm worried that they're going to try to hook in a lot of extra combat to get more loot and stuff like that, and make it more like a Diablo style grind than sort of like the Breath of the Wild exploration. And I really hope they don't go down that route, but we'll see, I guess, when the game comes out.
Yep.
Yeah, I will check it out, obviously, if it's good. I just think it's a really weird kind of move. And like I said, it is such a copy that it's kind of gross to me, barf inducing.
Yeah.
But I mean, I got to be honest, Sony's copied a lot of stuff too, even though I wouldn't say it's as gross as this, but even the original Uncharted was clearly a Gears of War Tomb Raider ripoff, but I think they brought a little more to the table. It remains to be seen what this is bringing to the table. But I would happily be proven wrong. So some of the other announcements, Prince of Persia Sands of Time remake, which I'm actually excited to revisit this game. It's been a long time. I remember loving it. I think Sean liked it a lot too. Got to be honest, the graphical style was not blowing me away. Like it seems like they did redo everything, unless I'm missing something, and it's kind of like
flat
last gen. I don't know.
I thought the character models in particular were really strange. Like they're a little off.
Yeah, I agree. There's something not right about it, but I'm still relatively intrigued. I'm curious to replay this game.
They did say Xbox One, PS4, and PC, so it's definitely not coming to the next gen consoles, at least not right away. But yeah, I mean, we were talking before about I felt like Prince of Persia was something that was due for a comeback. So I mean, yeah, it's a remake, but I mean that is probably the best game in the series, so I'd be down to revisit that.
The only thing I could think of maybe is that I think they said it is in like their new India studio. So maybe, I mean, the India, from my knowledge, is not a big gaming hub. So I wonder if it's just like a little bit of lack of experience and maybe they're, struggling to keep up with the tools or something. And it's kind of causing them to have to down res stuff to get it to run at a proper frame rate. Cause I bet, Prince of Persia is pretty quick combat. I bet they want to have it at 60 or as close to 60 as they can get it. So I wonder if that's a contributing factor. I mean, you'd think with Ubisoft oversight, they have enough experience to be able to help with that stuff, but you never know.
They have so many studios they can pull in for help. I have a hard time believing that would be the case, but
yeah, something suspect though.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like a weird. It looks like it's an HD remastered version, but looks like they use some old art as a starting point. I don't know. Whatever. I'll check it out, I guess.
When they showed the initial kind of like reveal part of the trailer, I was actually really hoping that they were going to go down the same route, maybe as like Final Fantasy VII, where it's like a remake, quote unquote, but then they change up a bunch of shit based on, like almost like changing what happens. But I think actually the coolest thing, I don't think they're going to do that anymore after hearing the interviews, but I think that they got the same voice actor to do it. And I don't know if you guys saw that little blurb with him in the motion capture suit, but hearing that guy's voice like totally brought me back to that original game because he sounds exactly the same as what he did in that original game.
Yeah, I liked the voice acting for that game, so it seems like a good idea.
Definitely not a needle mover. Not gonna lie. Voice acting is not a deal breaker for this guy. I'll say the next major announcement, as far as I'm concerned, was the announcement of Riders Republic, which appears to be a rebranding of their game Steep, rather than a sequel. So taking the same concept, maybe tweaking it a bit and renaming it, which is like a racing.
It's a new game though, right? Like it's not just like an add-on for Steep.
No, it is. I'm saying like they're totally they could have made Steep too, but they clearly decided to call it something different.
Right, yeah.
So like they're rebranding it. I don't know, looked okay. I actually thought some of the first person stuff from the bikes looked really good. Not that I thought Steep looked okay. I never really played it, but I don't know, the first person stuff on the mountain biking. Not that I don't think I'll play this, but it looked kind of cool.
Yeah, I was interested in Steep when it was first announced. I think it got kind of mediocre reviews and I never looked into it further, but I mean this idea of like having like huge crowds of people doing this stuff, it seems interesting. I just don't know how that actually plays. And even from stuff they showed, I couldn't get a full sense of what the gameplay was.
And when people have different styles of vehicles and
yeah, like just mixing all that together seems a little chaotic, but I mean, I'm curious, if they can get like trials type stuff in there and mix it with like an SSX kind of thing, like it could be good.
No needle moving here on that one.
Okay. And I'm just going to wrap up the rest of the stuff. Hyperscape turbo mode for their online battle royale game. Don't care. Rainbow Six Siege World Cup featuring one of my most hated basketball players as its ambassador, Tony Parker.
He sounded super excited too.
Definitely. Yeah. He was so passionate. What an ambassador. It's almost as big a deal as the Beatles at E3. Like, what is going on here? Like, they'd be better off picking someone who's a moderate celebrity who plays Rainbow Six Siege. Like, This is ridiculous.
Or someone, or even like one of the announcer, or whatever they call them, shoutcaster people that like are actually passionate about the game and could actually explain it to people. Because Tony Parker doesn't know shit about that game. He's just there. He's like, I
don't know if he does or not.
Yeah, I guess.
I definitely got the vibe he doesn't.
Yeah, they play a lot of that in France, I guess, right? Isn't he from France?
Yeah, it's really, really cool. Whatever, bud. Goof. I hate Tony Parker. He's such a flopper. Always couldn't stand it. Anyway, I'm not even going to talk about that anymore. They were saying, mark your calendars, Scott Pilgrim fans. Big announcement. Re-releasing the same game. Huge announcement. Sean, you are the biggest Scott Pilgrim fan I know. I liked that game on PlayStation. I think it's actually, wasn't it removed from the store at some point?
I think that's the main reason they're doing this, just because people still want to buy it. I think I still have it on my PS3, the original version. What can I say? When I first saw it, I thought, oh, sequel. And unfortunately,
I think everyone did. So, okay. I mean, that's kind of cool. I got to say, in the comments, out of all the things, when I was watching on YouTube, this seemed to have the least negative response.
I must say, though, that game is really fun, and it's nice that it will be available again.
Yeah. Yep. It's got some DLC, but nothing big, like a couple characters and a couple game modes, like a dodgeball mode or something, which I never played at the time. So I guess that's something.
Oh, it's huge, bud. And Watchdog Legions had a few announcements with the music and DLC stuff with the original Watch Dogs character, I think. Don't care. What do you guys think?
Well, did they announce that? Was this the first time they showed how to actually recruit people, or is that a rehash of stuff they've announced already?
They've shown similar stuff before, I think.
Oh, okay.
I think this is the first time they revealed that Aiden Pierce is a playable character, though, right?
That's what I said. Isn't that the character from the first Watch Dogs?
Oh, yes, it is. Sean's just out to lunch. He's looking at Scott Pilgrim videos over there.
I was scrolling through what else was announced. I thought there was something else, but apparently not.
That's okay. I blanked out on one of your things last night. It's fair. I don't care. It doesn't make me mad. It's all good, bud. Yeah, I mean, overall, not totally impressed. Ubi's really feeling like, I know I kind of made this analogy before, the Netflix of games, but almost worse. Like, it's not the Netflix of games. I can't think of the proper analogy. They're just kind of hitting these pre-programmed marketing buckets that they have and making games that fit it. Like, it feels really uninspired, the stuff they're doing. And I don't know. I'm sure they sell fine. I'm not questioning their financial viability, but as a gamer, I am not passionate about anything they're putting out there in the world lately.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of anything that they've got going on right this minute, but they've had some good stuff in the past. I'll check out Prince of Persia. I'll check out Immortals, Phoenix Rising. Speaking of Netflix of games, though, Frank, they apparently announced this week that Netflix might be getting into games. So maybe Netflix is the Netflix of games.
Yeah, It's definitely not Ubisoft. That is not a good analogy. So if someone out there can think of, it's not, I think I've made like Marvel or Disney stuff before where it's like very safe, playing everything extremely safe with whatever they do. And I don't know. I will. There is something, and I just can't think of it. Someone's got to know what it is. But I guess also announced was a Annapurna box set, getting into the all of their PlayStation 4 releases in one box set, kind of bridging movies and games as they have as a publisher with physical media. I will definitely not be picking that up, but I have to admit it looked kind of cool, and I like a lot of those games quite a bit.
I am out on physical media for video games.
You got it, bud. Now we're talking. All right, that's it for Ubi Forward. Let's get into what we played. Anything you guys have that's new or interesting? I've just finished up some stuff.
Nope.
Not too much. I have a couple things I can mention. Played the third chapter of Vader Immortal, which I think was the weakest one. It was a bit of a letdown in terms of wrapping up the story. They tried to have a few big battles and stuff, but the combat is pretty repetitive and got kind of boring. The voice acting, which I thought was pretty strong in the first two, this one, so they have a guy, like it's not James Earl Jones doing Darth Vader, but a guy who sounds pretty close. But in this one, they have like a couple moments where he kind of like gets angry, and it just felt real weird and real off. There's like a moment where he's like, "Padme, I will be with you again," or something like that, and I was like, "Oh God!" But it was not horrible. There's still, I guess, the lightsaber dojo mode, which I haven't tried yet. So there's a little bit of replayability there. But, kind of disappointed with that. And then I'll give you an Apple Arcade thing I've been playing, which is also available on other platforms. The new Hello Games game, The Last Campfire, which it's kind of a puzzle game. I guess I would compare it to, it reminds me of like Monument Valley and games like that, but there's definitely more of a story, and it's like Monument Valley meets Rhyme. So it's kind of like, I don't know, it has this sort of fantasy world vibe, but you're just solving puzzles. There's no combat or anything. And I don't know, I kind of dig the atmosphere and the look of it. The puzzles haven't gotten very hard yet, so I can't fully speak to how that is. But it's worth checking out if you have Apple Arcade, which I'm sure nobody listening does. But it's pretty good.
I have it, but I wasn't listening. Sorry, Sean. Relax. Just kidding, bud. I'm just kidding. I might check this out
at the cottage. Did you have any thoughts on the stuff you played, or did you not really get a chance
played about 2 minutes of their Zelda ripoff. What was it called again? Oceanhorn or some bullshit?
Yeah, Oceanhorn 2.
Yeah. Didn't get too far. Shut her down pretty quick. I will say, I already told this story on the Film Junk Patreon live stream last night, but I got to get into it again. It is gaming related. So I finally beat Spiritfarer, and I will never, ever play a game without a trophy guide again. So there is one achievement or trophy, pardon me, for getting every character to their ecstatic mood at least once. So I saw that ahead of time. I'm like, okay, you make the first few characters ecstatic by giving them food they like, upgrading their house, all this stuff. So I'm like, no problem. I can get that. There was one other missable thing, but I found a way to get that. So I get to the last character of the game, and then all of a sudden, this character, you can't please them. They don't want their house upgraded. You can't hug them. That's like kind of the joke with this character, but you cannot get them to an ecstatic mood unless you've kept another character around till the end of the game. And it's such bullshit. It really pisses me off that thankfully I made a backup save at some point, but I had to play this game for another 5 hours, reverting to an old backup save just to get this one trophy that on a first glance seems totally achievable, except it's actually impossible unless you keep one or two characters around, and you would have no way of knowing this. I put an extra 4 or 5 hours in just to get that trophy. I still really like the game, but that is bullshit. I hate it. And I'm really angry about it, if you can't tell. And I'm kind of over it because I was able to get it eventually, but I am only using trophy guides from now on. That's it. Unless it's a game where I've already conceded the fact that I'll never get a platinum in it, fuck it. I'm done relying on their descriptions of achievements and trophies. And there was another bug. It just got patched. There was another one I thought I'll never be able to get. And I was like, I'm fucking done with this shit until I find out whether trophies are bugged or glitched. But that got fixed. I will amend that. That was fixed. But this game just made me love trophy guides even more. And to the great people out there in the world who are making trophy and achievement guides and detailing bullshit bugged and missable trophies, thank you. I appreciate you. Power Picks, among others. I love what you're doing. Keep it up. Power Picks, amazing trophy guides. I love that shit. Thank you. And I don't understand this controversy about using trophy guides. It's not how to beat the game. You still have to play and beat the game. It's so you don't have to play it twice to do one extra little thing. Why is that hard to understand? That's all it's about. It's not about ruining the experience of the game. It's about bullshit trophies and achievements that developers put in their game, and they don't fully test their own fucking games.
Yeah, and a lot of the trophy guides I've read, they really don't spoil anything. They basically just tell you locations and like stuff to look out for, like sort of so you know when you're getting close to it. There's not like, it's not a step-by-step walkthrough of the whole game.
Exactly. Those exist, by the way. They're called walkthroughs, and I don't use them unless I'm stuck somewhere because your design is fucking bullshit. Like every Zelda game ever. Sorry, I said it. I have to check a guide for every Zelda game that's ever been made.
You know, not that I want to get too much into this, but, you know, I guess the argument is more just like, but why do you need the trophies then? Like, if you're not enjoying the
that
act,
I will admit, because I'm a huge piece of shit. That's why. Because I need these fake things to bump up my gamer score. I'm addicted to it. Sure, I'm fine with that. I concede that. But it is, if anything, you have to say someone who's gotten every trophy understands and has seen more about the game than another player. It's undeniable.
Usually.
And as a developer, I saw trophy guides always as a way of guiding players to see everything your game has to offer. If you have some cool system or something that maybe is more optional, it's a way of having gamers or pointing them in the direction of optional stuff in your game that you want them to see, that you worked on. Seems perfect. It's amazing to me. I think trophies and achievements are the best thing to happen to games ever. And Nintendo fanboys strongly disagree and obviously agree with Nintendo that why do you need a trophy to play a game? I get it. Don't get them then. Doesn't bother me. But I love that they are driving the experience and used by designers to guide the experience in addition to the base version of the game. It's fantastic. Fuck, I love them. I fucking love them. They're so good. I love trophies. And I got to give credit where credit is due. Microsoft achievements, they came up with the whole thing. Trophies just ripped it off. Not my fault. Sony makes better games, but I will give credit to Microsoft for coming up with the idea of gamer score and achievements. It is a game changer. The biggest single innovation to platforms that I can ever think of, besides maybe online gaming.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't really pay much attention to them, but I will admit that when one comes up, it's a good feeling. You feel like, hey, I did something, you know?
It moves the needle.
Yeah. It's a carrot on a stick, you know? Like it kind of keeps you looking for the next goal. And I guess that in that sense, it's a good idea.
Speaking of achievements and trophies, I'm still going through Ghost of Tsushima. And I must say that I am pretty much just playing the main storyline. I'm just into the final act now, so I think I have about 5 or 6 hours left. And that game is really stingy with their trophies on the main quest path. I think I've probably got 4 bronzes, and that's it. Maybe 5. And I've already put in like 20 hours.
Each act has 4 or 5 bronzes, and then there's one for completing the entire game.
Feels pretty stingy. Like I haven't seen a silver, haven't seen a gold. pretty light.
Gotta explore the world, bud.
I don't know. I agree with you though that if I was exploring the world, I would be done with this game, I think, because I'm looking at they have the main quest and then the side quests and then like the mythic quests or whatever. And I must say, I probably have 20 plus side quests and probably 10 plus or even more of these mythic quest things. And I'm never going to look at them because I did a couple of the side quests and they were so long that I couldn't believe how long they were for a side quest. You had to go to like 4 different places to get these side quests done.
And follow footprints from each spot to the next.
Yeah, and follow footprints. Yeah. So I'm glad I'm not playing those, just like Frank was suggesting for me not to do. And I'm still enjoying the game because I've skipped almost the whole big section of the game. But we'll get into that more maybe if we do a spoiler review of that one coming up. Maybe next week or the week after.
Frank, did you pick up Vader Immortal?
I did. I haven't played it yet, though.
Oh, well,
I should say, in addition, there's a huge VR sale on PlayStation right now as well. And there's like legit amazing deals.
I'll have to check it out.
I hope I didn't miss it. I'm going to... Okay, so just some highlights here. Like Super Hot VR is down to $13. Creed is only $9.99. Astrobot $11. Blood and Truth $18. PlayStation VR World $7.99. Until Dawn $6.99. Firewall 0 Hour $12. Everybody's Golf $13. Farpoint $15. Some legit good deals on VR stuff that I've been holding off on. So I'm going to go buy all of these once this is over and never play them. I almost forgot.
I have most of the ones you mentioned that I would have wanted, I think, but I'll take a look. But I
think Moss is $10 too, if I'm not mistaken. And these are Canadian prices. They're even cheaper in the United States of America.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's worth checking out. I was just going to say one other thing with Vader Immortal. If you do play it, keep an eye out for this because I'm trying to. I noticed towards the end of this, and I think this is true. One of the things I think they did to cut corners in the game, I think every single character in the game has a mask or something over their face, so they don't have to do lip sync or much facial animation. I think that's the case. I can't think of anybody in the game that does, but just let me know if I'm wrong on that.
Okay. Why does that bother you? What's wrong with that? I like masks.
I mean, I actually think the characters are interesting looking, even like, there's a bunch of characters that they made up that are, just original characters. But no, it was just one of those things because I was saying, I think it actually looks really nice as a game, but with a lot of VR stuff, you do have to cut corners. And that's one of the things where it occurred to me that like every single person I was talking to in that third chapter has like a mask and does not emote at all. So,
okay. I will check it out. I think I gotta get under the visor. Enough is enough. But Moss is not available.
It's not available?
No.
On the sale?
Okay. Oh, it is. Yeah. Sorry. I'm an idiot. $20 though. So Astrobot for 11 is a sweet deal.
Yeah, that is pretty good.
How much is Trover? Did you buy Trover? 23. I got cheap.
Yeah, I did pick up Trover. I got a big backlog of VR stuff. No surprise, but yeah. And I saw that the Dark Crystal Age of Resistance Tactics just got added to Game Pass. So now I got to check that out. Like, come on.
Yeah, you got to.
There's actually another game that got added, Star Renegades, which is by a Toronto studio that I've been really looking forward to. And that just got added to Game Pass too. I was getting all ready to buy it on Steam, and then here comes Game Pass, saving me money again. What a deal.
I love it.
I'll pay for it on PlayStation. Thank you. I do have to finish carrying though. Okay. I think that's it for this week's show. Check out youtube.com/GameJunk if you want to see me really get fired up about Spiritfarer, you gotta see my face. I'm pissed. And My Angry Commute on Twitter for Huck, as well as Equilibrium Sis, Sean Film Junk on Twitter. And check out facebook.com/Game Junk Podcast for all your latest news and announcements, as well as Game Junk Podcast on Twitter.
Facebook.com/Game Junk.
Oh, okay. Pardon me. Just Game Junk.
Just change the one, right?
We got to rebrand this fucking thing and pick something we can actually get. All right. Anyway, thanks for checking out this episode, and we'll see you next week. What we're going to talk about, I have no idea. Bye-bye. Fuck, I gotta take a nap before every show. I was so drowsy at first, but I was fucked up.
There's an article here. PS5 price was considerably higher until Xbox Series X's price was revealed.
Oh, really? Where's that from?
BGR.com.
Ooh, the respectable outlet of BGR.com.
Yeah, I don't know where they're getting it from.
I don't want to brag, but I think my camera's legit the best.
Probably. My camera is, I don't know, 15 years old. It's pretty high quality. Oh, this bad boy is 2005.
What's the resolution on that?
640 by 480.
Oh, yeah.
Classic 4x3.
On my camera, I look absolutely incredible. Like perfect. The level of detail is insane.
Well, I'll have to upgrade.
Well, I can't see you at all right now. You're completely out of focus. Well, I can see an outline of your face, but that's about it.
He looks fine to me.
Oh, maybe it's my internet then. I have no idea.
When you opened the settings, couldn't you see yourself in the little preview window?
Yeah, I could. I don't know. It looked okay to me, but
it's still fine for me.
All right. Frank's
I think we've got a common problem. It's the champion over there.
Okay. We'll see the results on the YouTubes.
Yeah, it'll be pixelated on Skype anyway, so it really doesn't matter.